Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and anime vehicles are back inside the game. 4 years ago it was Valkyria Chronicles, and now Girls und Panzer have invaded the world of tanks. And today the first vehicle featuring all of your favorite anime characters will be available inside the Panzer IV Ausf H. The Ankou, led by the legendary Miho Nishizumi, are coming for World of Tanks. Now, the main attractive aspect of this is that there is unique voice acting, and you can hear from 5 different crew members. So, let's see what we've got to look forward to. That's the commander.
はいはい。出発進行。
Oh my word, I think I found my spirit animal even. It looks like Mako on the right there is about as enthusiastic as I am about having to cover this inside the game. Radio is broken. My lovely ammo rack.
私がですか? パンツァー 4!
Yeah, this one isn't going to be for me, but just because it isn't for me doesn't mean it might not be for you. Maybe you adore the whole of the Girls und Panzer series, and this is your chance to finally meet an iconic tank and get the Ankou for yourself, as well as also a variety of emblems. One thing that's really interesting about this for me is that 4 years ago, in 2017, Wargaming Europe and Wargaming NA decided that the Valkyria Chronicles should only stay on the Asia server, that us Europeans and Americans just really can't deal with the finer Japanese arts. However, all of that seems to have gone out the window now, as this will be coming to the EU and the NA server as this video is released. So before we get stuck into the gameplay, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to be oh so excited to hear QuickyBaby get pestered again by a high-pitched, shrill voice, I'm sure a lot of you are waiting in anticipation whether the new Panzer IV Ankou is going to be the best vehicle inside World of Tanks. And yeah, long story short, it is basically identical to the tech tree Panzer IV, making it probably one of the least exciting vehicles that has ever gone into the game. Now, don't get me wrong, the Panzer IV, it's not terrible, at least within every regard, but I don't think anyone would go out of their way to spend their hard-earned money to be able to get a premium version of a tank at tier 5 that isn't really special and is more of a stepping stone up the tech tree. Nevertheless, let's take a look at the statistics of the Panzer IV Ankou, and I'm going to compare it to possibly the best premium medium tank at tier 5, which of course has to be the Panzer V4, which was recently available in the black market. Alright, so right off the bat, the Ankou has 1,650 damage per minute. It's definitely not bad, definitely not good. It's worse than the Panzer V4, but not by too much. The penetration on this tank of 210 is not really very good, and you're going to quite often be finding yourself loading gold rounds, especially when you end up against higher tiered opponents. Gun handling wise, 2.3 seconds aim time, 0.39 accuracy. It's just not very good, is it? The dispersion values when moving and when turning the turret are very awkward, especially compared to the Panzer V4. And if you were thinking that this tank is going to play out like that absolute god tier, tier 5 tank, you are going to be very disappointed. And funnily enough, you end up matching quite a lot of them, as I was able to find in my experiences of playing this tank, because for some reason, a lot of people seem to like to seal club in tier 5 premium tanks like the V4, probably because it's actually very good, and the statistics are very green compared to the Panzer IV Ankou that we're discussing about here. Mobility-wise, 40 forwards, 18 backwards. Again, it feels more like a heavy tank than a medium tank, although definitely a faster heavy than a true slow heavy. But again, the Panzer V4 goes at 55 forwards, 20 backwards, and has a very decent power to weight ratio to still be able to get up there. And also the Panzer V4 at 40 tons, you can do those big rams, which is what makes the vehicle special. The traverse speed on the vehicle is worse than the 5.4 as well. The armor is worse than the 5.4, especially at the side. This is one of the worst things about the Panzer IV H, is that it can be overmatched by 91mm caliber guns. So when you fight equal tiered opponents who maybe are using the 105mm derp and they fire armor-piercing rounds, they're going to overmatch your side, or alternatively, all of those pesky Soviet tanks are still going to do significant damage to your side armor. And God forbid they manage to catch the rear of this tank, as it is only 20mm thick on the hull. The hit points of the vehicle, less than the 5.4. The hit points of the engine in the track, less than the 5.4. One slight advantage the vehicle does have, I guess, is the camo rating on this tank compared to the 5.4. It does have a lot better concealment, but its view range at 350 meters means that you're really going to have to take binoculars in this vehicle unless you have an exceptionally skilled crew. Talking about crew, this is going to be one of the highlights of the tank for all of you Girls und Panzer fans out there, and you will get a full plethora of all 5 female crew members, which also have Brothers in Arms as a 0 skill perk. I've still yet to decide where I want to end up putting the Team Anglerfish crew. Probably going to end up putting them in my E50M, just so I can make a weak tank like that just a little bit more painful for myself, right? So apart from the binoculars on this vehicle, I'm going to take a gun rammer and vents to be able to maximize the combat capacity of it. And so without further ado, let's jump into the battlefield and hear the incredible voice acting of Mihu Nishizumi as she informs me about all of the intricate things that happen to my tank during the battle. Can I speak now? Maybe, possibly. I have to admit the voice lines do go on, and maybe for me it's a little bit awkward as a commentator, but maybe you'll really like that. Maybe you'll love that soothing, high, shrill voice in your ear every time you manage to penetrate one of the enemy tanks, or God forbid that you actually lose one of your crew members. Alright, so I'm rolling out in the Panzer IV-H Ankou in a nice matchup for this tank. Look at this, we've got 5-10 matchmaking with a whole plethora of tier 4 tanks that we're going to have a go at. So when I play this vehicle, you can either play it as a support flanking kind of tank. I like to boost the view range up, maybe play as like a light scout, but you're quite slow, so you don't want to play it like a true scout. The main way that I like to end up playing this tank as I try to get used to the very new voice acting is to make sure that I end up using the vehicle's 10 degrees of gun depression. Yeah, that's about it for me. I just love to use the vehicle's 10 degrees of gun depression. That is where I was most successful in this tank while I was playing it, when I was working a ridge and really going, well, firing down on my opponents. Now, you've got to watch out with the Panzer IV, however, though, because of course you have the top of the tank that's a little bit vulnerable. So you've got to watch out for that. But still, 10 degrees is 10 degrees, and quite often at low tiers, people aren't being the most accurate with their shells, and you're going to be able to take advantage of that. And if you get going, and like me, you fire a load of gold rounds even against lower tiered opponents, as I'm going to in this battle, as I was a little bit pushed for time to be able to get content out for this tank, yeah, it's pretty darn effective. One thing I would like to highlight about this tank, however, is that I ended up not making too many credits with it. So if you end up thinking that you are going to make a lot of credits playing this tank, then that is just simply not going to be the case. This is not the vehicle that you want to buy if you want to make yourself a lot of credits, which is always what's bizarre about tier 5 vehicles in the first place. I would always try and invest my money into tier 8 tanks. If you can get yourself a tier 8 tank, it's going to be absolutely awesome because of the credit potential that you're going to be able to achieve. These tier 5 tanks, they always end up still making an okay amount of credits. They're going to either make you good amounts if you don't fire gold, or at least they're going to lower the price a little bit if you end up slinging the gold rounds a lot like I do in this battle. However, it's no compromise. Well, it is. You're making a massive compromise. There's no comparison compared to the tier 8 vehicles premium that you'll be able to really start making a lot of credits. And so it's always awkward for me when I think about these kind of tanks. These, should we say, not collector's vehicles. I guess this is just one for the fans. It's like a fan service vehicle, right? It's going to be a fan service vehicle for all of the Girls und Panzer fans out there. Because they're not... It's not any different to a tech tree tank. It's not a particularly great vehicle, so it's not going to be purchased by people who want a competitive tank. It's not going to be purchased by people who want to make a huge amount of credits, because it's a tier 5 tank, and apart from making really good crew training, it's only pretty much just going to break even. It's definitely one that is going to be for the Girls und Panzer's fans out there. I did not realize how popular this was, though. Are you all going to buy one? Let me know in the comments. Have you watched all of the Girls und Panzer stuff? I haven't watched any of it. I did a little bit of research and I found it's on Netflix. Tanya was asking me whether I wanted to watch a few episodes for research purposes, of course. Not yet. I haven't become that bored yet. I've still got a few things that I would rather do than to watch this. But I'm not judging if it's your thing. You know, it's your thing. That's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Just possibly not quite what I want to hear when I want to be playing World of Tanks. But if it's your thing, then that's... Did that just overlay everything all at the same time? At least it's not like it was 4 years ago when I felt like there were actually multiple voice lines being sent at the same time. I just feel like it's relentless, one after another. Nevertheless, let's not focus so much on that now, and let's focus on the tank's capacity and its combat performance. And that is that in this situation, it's done very well. I fired a lot of gold, I used a lot of gun depression, and I played against some players who I think were rather new and ended up just trundling towards me. Now, spoilers, these last two players here, the Pz.Kpfw and also the Su-76GFT, they are not new players. They have many thousands of games of World of Tanks between them, tens of thousands of games of World of Tanks between them, and they're also very capable because their win ratios are very high as well. We're going to see exactly what we can do in this scenario after we've just absolutely butchered our way through the valley in the Panzer IV Ankou. Alright, so my team are advancing from the east. We've also got an Su-76G who's going to be behind me. And the Pz.Kpfw is actually a reward vehicle. So you see, we're going to track the Pz.Kpfw. We're going to try and weaken his tracks, unfortunately missing the tracks there. And just as the Pz.Kpfw comes around the corner, we're going to track them again. And now we're going to end up retracking them and loading high explosive rounds. 45 damage in track. And unfortunately... oh! So unfortunately for me, I was unable to handle two decent players at the same time. I was completely outplaying the Pz.Kpfw there. We locked them down. We were using high explosive rounds intelligently against the tracks, doing small amounts of damage to the front of the Pz.Kpfw at the same time, locking them in place. And unfortunately, the Su-76 came to back them up. Nevertheless, this was still a cracking game for a pretty mediocre vehicle. It's not the best one you're ever going to get your hands on. Is it something that I would want to fork out a load of money for? No, not really. There's far better tanks to be able to invest your money in World of Tanks. However, maybe the anime girls are going to be the thing for you. If they possibly are, then you know what? Who am I to tell you how to spend your funds in World of Tanks or anywhere in life? So an ace tank here for the Panzer IV Ankou. We get a high caliber for the 2,375 damage that we dealt, but we ended up only barely breaking even with a premium account as I spent 62,000 credits on ammunition this game. Now, did I need to fire that amount of gold? Probably not. I could have probably made the armor piercing rounds work inside this tank. However, Did I need to absolutely, as quickly as possible, get an ace tanker in this vehicle so that I can get the voices out of my head? Yeah, and yeah, that was definitely worth the gold price tag, I can tell you. It's really interesting to me to just see how much World of Tanks has changed over the last 4 years. 4 years ago, we didn't have flamboyant styles all over the garage, and the Valkyria Chronicles female crew for the Nameless and also for the Edelweiss were so out there and weird that they didn't want to put them on the European and the North American server. However, either a couple of things. Now that we've got so much weird stuff in World of Tanks, this isn't even really considered to be that extreme, and so it's fine for the European and the North American server. Or alternatively, Wargaming thinks that the Girls and Panzer market is worth milking sufficiently so to justify having them in the game. Now, whether all of you anime fans out there are going to jump up and be able to purchase this tank, let's just take a look and see what happens there. Personally, for me, I would hard pass on this. The tank isn't good. The crew voices, while they're well done, they're incredibly jarring, at least for me. But I think the final straw for me was that when I found out that you can customize the emblems on the tank, and one of them is a hippo wiggling its bottom at us. Thanks, World of Tanks. Thanks, Girls and Panzer. What have they done to our beautiful game? Look, I might be overreacting excessively for comedic effect, but I'd be really interested to hear in the comments what you think about all of this. Do you think it's absolutely awful and you think it detracts from still that kind of historical vibe that we have in the game? Or do you think it's all a little bit of fun if Wargaming want to put in vehicles that are no better than tech tree tanks and make money from it to be able to further develop the game without pay to win, then maybe this is actually one of the ways forward. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for me today. I really hope you enjoyed my battle with the anime girls in more ways than one. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down and let me know in the comments what you think about this whole situation. Are you more of a Yakari, happy about this happening, or are you more of a Mako? A little bit disgruntled and maybe slightly confused and feeling left quite old. Anyway, as always, thank you so much to you for watching. Have a great day and hopefully I'll see you soon.